I'm going to tell you something right now, guys, that this week has been absolutely crazy. Whether it's been Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson, whether it's the Calvin Ridley gambling story, to the point where we have Major League Baseball back. That is right, my friends. Your Cubs, your White Sox, the AL, the NL are back in business. Breaking news, Major League Baseball and the MLB Players Association have reached a tentative agreement on a new labor deal. Sources tell ESPN. While it still needs to be ratified by both parties, this is expected to be a formality, and when it is, baseball is back. That was from Jeff Passan, who was hacked throughout the entire day, the biggest day of his career, but got his account back just in the nick of time. Here's something interesting I want to bring to the table. This is from John Heyman. Union Executive Board vote was 8-0 against the MLB proposal, but teams voted 26-4 in favor of it, carrying the day. Unusual that the general player population goes so far against player leadership. So we have finally got to this moment. Baseball is back, whether it was the international draft, whether it was TV revenue, whether it was the cap, whether it was the luxury tax, the designated hitter, extra innings, man on seconds. At the end of the day, all the arguments, all the posturing, all the headaches that we got, we know April 7th, we will have opening day, and we know the MLB free agency is going to be absolutely crazy, and we'll be covering here like a blanket. It is Devin Tingle. It is Paul Chivari. It is Dan Marver. I'm Mike Mercado, and it is exciting times here on the Sports Cubicle. Of course, our local baseball expert covers the White Sox and Cubs like a blanket. He was this close to covering all the Korean and Caribbean baseball if we didn't get MLB. The Paulie Dangerous from the Baseball Weekend Journal. You see some of these details. As of this recording, we haven't gotten everything yet. It's not fully official out in New York. But your initial thoughts seeing the reports that we got Major League Baseball back?
Well, I mean, first of all, I think by the time most people hear this, it will be ratified. It's just a formality at this point that the league has to approve it with the owners. They just need 23 out of the 30. But I'm excited. I mean, you could see them. They were close. They were getting close all months in March, you know, when they had the 16-hour chat. I think they were up Monday, February 28th, trying to hit that deadline. And then they, you know, all the way in like 3 in the morning, 2 in the morning. Then they go the next day and extend it, and they don't get it done. And then this week they had some late night sessions, and you just knew that they wanted to really get this done. And I'm glad that they were able to do it. I was confident all along that we would have a baseball season. Wasn't sure in the last few days if it would be a 162 game baseball season, but ever since the lockout, I really thought that they had the ability to get this done in time. And let's just say they technically did get it done in time, since there will be a full season.
I think one of the frustrating things that I've had this entire time is their own sanction deadlines. This is something that they were imposing on themselves. They were the ones, and when I say they, the owners, of setting up, this is the deadline. These are the games we are missing. But we will get into that in a little bit. I do want to have the conversation because later on this edition of the Sports Cubicle, we are joined by our amazing guest, one of our friends and mentors, Jonathan Hood from ESPN 1000. We kind of talk about baseball long-term, the damage from some of these negotiations. I want to get your opinions about that before we get to that talk later on in the show. But let's stay with some good news and initial reactions. Devin, our local, also our White Sox fans, along with Paulie Dangerous, he will be at Guaranteed Rate Field as many times as you can this summer. Your excitement level, you know the White Sox have a really good squad. There's a chance that they're going to be very competitive this year. You see baseball is back. Your thoughts when you saw the tweets come in on your timeline that we got baseball back?
Well, first off, I'll go back to your intro, Mercado. How dare you give no love to Carson Wentz going to the Commanders? Shame on you. But moving back to where we're going here, I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting here. You know, I was very big on we're not getting a Stevenson this year. I was being that Debbie Downer. Boys are egg on my face. But again, I got no problem being proven wrong, guys. You think I had shame? Forget, I can't say that word I want to say there. But definitely nice that we're going to actually have baseball back April 7th. That's not too long away. We still get spring training, so my big fear is they're going to cancel that. Definitely already know which White Sox games I want to go to. Haven't bought my tickets yet because, you know, payday's tomorrow. Shush. But definitely, you do bring up a good point, Mercado. As I've been saying, like the White Sox, it's a very small window, I think, for like maybe another 2 years for this, as the team they are now to stay good and competitive here. I think manager Tony La Russa's contract, I think, is up at the end of this year. And, whether you love or hate the guy, he's actually done a fairly good job managing some of these younger guys here, and I'm pretty sure Paul Aces will have a thing or two to say about that. But it's definitely interesting now. Now we get the season back. There's a lot of big free agent guys. That's what I'm more curious about. Who's going to go where? And I'm pretty sure Paul has his selections of who's going to go where and these big names,
And that's going to be fun because we're going to hear Paulie's thoughts. You could hear it this weekend if you get the chance. Baseball Weekend Journal, especially now that we know pitchers and catchers, the DH in the National League, everybody will be reconvening and we will be getting baseball. So make sure you keep up to date with all that. And you really hit on that, Devin, about the free agency. We are about to see a craziness, a circus of people coming together, teams coming together, and these deals to get done. And what I'm wondering, and Paulie, I'll throw it to you on this one. So as of this re-recording, we are about 15 minutes away from the day being done, the business day being done, and in rumors being that it will be ratified by then. So, but like you said, by the time they hear this, they would have known. But do you think, let's say by 5 p.m. Eastern time in New York City, it's ratified, how much longer from that moment, 5 p.m. Eastern, will we see the craziness of people signing? Because remember now, here locally, Lonzo Ball and the Chicago Bulls got in trouble because of tampering, because they had a deal done a minute into NBA free agency. We all know there's back channeling talks, agents talk, all that, but you have to be on the books, quote unquote, as up and up as you can be. So, Paulie, you think the deal gets ratified at 5 p.m. Eastern, 4 o'clock Central? How fast are teams signing big free agents, their pitchers? How fast is the frenzy starting?
I thought I saw something where 7 p.m. Eastern would be when the light switch flicks on of we're all good to go.
Here you go.
So yeah, I mean, I would think here on March 10th, you're gonna see from 7 p.m. Eastern all through the night probably some rumors. I'm sure everyone's gonna sleep after the last couple of days. Everyone's gonna sleep, but I think tonight you're gonna start seeing some at least rumors flying of an offer's been sent to this guy, or this guy is talking with this guy, or this and that. I don't think you're going to see free agents sign super duper quickly. And it's so hard to say because this is a little unprecedented with this sort of activity with the timeline that we've got here. There's nothing that says that Carlos Correa needs to be in camp for spring training this Sunday, March 13th. He doesn't have a team to report to, but I would imagine Carlos Correa wants to be swinging a bat on April 7th with everyone else. So I would expect in the next week, you're going to see certain bigger names go off the boards. That this was like what Corey Seager had to sign with the Rangers in order to really kickstart some of the stuff that was going on with the rest of the league. So I think Freddie Freeman's going to be big. Carlos Correa is going to be pretty big, and Chris Bryant will be big, and that will kind of dictate how the rest of the market will go. And after that, I mean, I think in the meantime, even if the big guys haven't signed yet, you're going to see certain guys that aren't as big get snatched up really quickly. So it's not saying that they're going to dictate the market of the dollars per se, or how it's going to go. I think it's going to be at least what comes off the boards in terms of kind of some of the remaining guys, like the hotter guys will go quick. The remaining guys will kind of be the ones, the hangers on that will be probably finding their team the last week of spring training, those guys. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be a really fun next couple of weeks. It's going to be one of the craziest spring trainings. I think ultimately it's bad for baseball in the sense that not everyone's going to get the proper training and time with their teams that they need it. And Devin was mentioning Tony La Russa and my thoughts on him. He's a great manager, but the ball game has changed. With some of the rule changes that we saw.
Paulie, we're going to get to that. Please hold that thought.
Okay.
We have some huge breaking news here in Chicago. This has never happened before. You will be knowing of it when you hear this on Sunday. But if you're listening to us on the podcast format or on youtube.com/mercadoairwaves network, this is from Adam Schefter. Bears are attempting to finalize a trade now that would send 6-time Pro Bowler defensive end Khalil Mack to the Los Angeles Chargers, sources tell ESPN. So as we get Major League Baseball back, the captain, the stalwart, the star of the franchise before Justin Fields has got here, Khalil Mack, is heading to Los Angeles. He is heading back to California. This is crazy news. We get baseball back. We've seen the news of Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers, and now a bombshell that the Bears star linebacker and defensive end is heading to LA. we're going to get back to our baseball conversation. This is something that's never happened here on the show. Make sure you're staying with us on Twitter at Sports Cubicle TV and at Couch Sports Talk throughout the week. And, of course, on Baseball Weekend Journal to keep up to date with all stuff like that. We'll go to a Bears fan like myself and Devin Tingle really fast. Khalil Mack heading to Los Angeles, according to Adam Schefter. Your thoughts?
I'm just glad it's not Roquan Smith. That's why I said I'm like, they keep one of them. I want Smith over Mack. You know, Mack's getting up there in age. Do they say? I'm assuming they're getting draft picks, but has it been finalized what this is for?
I have not seen the final details of it. This is, as of this recording, just 11 minutes ago, this tweet from Adam Schefter. Once again, Bears are attempting to finalize a trade now that will send 6-time Pro Bowler defensive end Khalil Mack to the Los Angeles Chargers. Sources tell ESPN. Of course, we'll keep up to that. Now, Ian Rappaport has also, the Bears are closing out on trade of star passer Khalil Mack, sending him to Los Angeles for prime draft pick composition. This is crazy times. Paulie Dangerous, a Raiders fan, you were there to see the start of Khalil Mack when he was drafted from Buffalo. You've seen him come to Chicago, have a wonderful first few seasons here. Now you see he is heading to the Chargers of division. You're very interested in a team you got your eye on. Being a Las Vegas Raiders fan, your thought on this breaking news as we talk Major League Baseball. Now Khalil Mack heading out of Chicago into L.A.
The Raiders won the Mack trade, and it's revolting that Mack is going to an AFC West team that's not Las Vegas.
It's going to be really interesting. I still think the Bears won that trade. And if they get a bunch of draft picks now with a weak NFC, it is going to be a fascinating time. Keep up to date. Of course, we'll be talking about this throughout the week. We'll be talking about throughout the weekend. Crazy times. The Bears are trading defensive end / linebacker Khalil Mack to the Chargers for draft compensation. We will keep up to date according to Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter. Our local baseball expert, Paul Chivari. It is Devin Tingle, Dan Marver, myself, Mike Mercado here on the Sports Cubicle. It's a busy show. We got Jonathan Hood a little later on today. But I want to get back to what Paulie Dangerous was talking about. Tony La Russa, the game is changing, and the way free agency is going. Your thoughts, though, as you continue that from, at least if you can remember where you were at that game, and thoughts. And if not, who would you like to see targeted for the Chicago White Sox in this crazy free agency period starts?
Well, finishing my thoughts on Tony La Russa, great manager. I think he's going to have a great year with the ball club if everyone's healthy. Clearly, he knows the fundamentals of managing a ball club. You know, by the way, he was able to slot in guys like Andrew Vaughn, who never played outfield at the professional level, and just kind of, throw the bird out of the nest and see if he can fly. La Russa's a good manager, and I think no matter what, he'll make the adjustments, even at his age, and how the game in ways that he can't help have passed him by. This is going to be a brand new style of baseball, I think, that we're seeing. I think it'll look close to what we remember, but of course, the bases being bigger, the universal DH, there's going to be an adjustment period here, and we'll see if La Russa can adapt to that. But in the meantime, I would love to see the Sox go after Chris Bryant. Not that he fulfills the need in right field or second base per se. He could play the corner in the outfield, but it helps move around different players. And I think it goes back to my example of Andrew Vaughn of, yeah, sure, the White Sox would love to have Yoan Moncada at third base and keep him there forever. But we've seen Moncada can play second base and he's adaptable. So, I mean, I think that's something that we're going to see a little bit maybe this season, depending on if the Sox sign Bryant. But knowing the White Sox, I don't think they will. I think they will find probably Michael Conforto. That's been the most realistic rumor that I've heard. I would love maybe a Nick Castellanos. But I think Bryant would be the best overall outfield need that they can get. I mean, think of how stacked of an outfield that would be with Eloy Jimenez, Luis Robert, and Chris Bryant. And 1 through 9, the White Sox can be a great hitting team. They still have to address second base and right field. I don't think they necessarily have to do the biggest name free agent. I think Conforto could at least fill the outfield need, and Leori Garcia could be a somewhat of a temporary fill at second base until they could probably trade for somebody better. They're a good team, though. I mean, I think pitching wise, they have to address some needs, and they got Kendall Graveman before the lockout, and there's still some good pitchers on the board. We still don't know where Clayton Kershaw is going to end up. Not that I'm saying it's the south side of Chicago, but Carlos Rodon still needs a home, and perhaps maybe he'll come back on a short deal with the team. Who knows? But it's going to be fun. I'm telling you, it's going to be, the way we're talking right now, it hasn't been ratified yet. The next few days of our lives is going to be a flurry of baseball activity where I think we're all going to be a little burnt out on Major League Baseball come opening day.
It's funny you say that, Paulie, because as we were breaking down this breaking news and whatnot, I could just feel it, right? Like it's a whirlwind right now of emotion and trying to figure things out. Dev, your thoughts on what the White Sox might be doing free agency? What would you like to see them? Who would you like to see them target?
I'm glad payday is tomorrow because the rate we're going, we'll be buying a few new jerseys or T-shirts. But definitely the big factor, as Paul said, I think it's in second base. You guys got good old, can't say his nickname, so to say Nick Madrigal there. But definitely that's my big goal there. Chris Taylor, I think, be the big guy. I'd like to see them signed. I don't think Clayton Kershaw is coming to the White Sox, Paulie. As we've learned, Jerry Reinsdorf does not like to spend does not like those big name multi-million-dollar pitchers. He's more about the offense. Can't blame him. Chris Bryant would be nice, but I don't see it happening, and I don't see Rodon coming back. So right now, I think Chris Taylor would be the best bet here because what did we learn about this team last year? It's like they have all the people in the right places. And yeah, if they were to get someone like a Chris Bryant, Marcus Semien, Clayton Kershaw, definitely it would be the best team in baseball because that's what I say. It's like it was sad seeing guys like Yomer Sanchez go, but we need the best team in baseball to win it here. But right now, I think the White Sox have a lot of the right guys in the right place. Maybe if we can kick Dallas Keuchel off, trade him and Craig Kimbrell. I'll say his name right when he's off the friggin' team. I almost swore watch. But definitely, it'll be interesting to see here. But I'm going to throw it back to you, Mercado. What moves do you want to see the Cubs make, being our current and right now only local Chicago Cubs fan?
For the Cubs, it has to come down to what do you do if you could find somebody like a Carlos Correa? I think it really has to do with where do you think the Cubs are? Where does the front office think that they are? Because when you bring in a Marcus Stroman, is he designed to be your one? Or you hoping that he'll be your three? Because if you think he's your three, that means that you're attempting to bring somebody in free agency. You have somebody down in the minor leagues. I think the Cubs have a lot of work to do. I think if they are not super active and getting Major League Baseball players on this roster, I think the Cubs can build a team without going for all the superstars. I think there's plenty of good options out there. And we have to see what happens with Nico Hoerner. We have to see what happens with Madrigal. There are some guys in this minor league system right now that the Cubs had to let them play at some point, right? Like we've seen this before. The White Sox went through it. The Cubs before them went through it. If you have a lot of kids in your system, it's nice to spend a lot of money and get a bunch of free agents. I would love the Cubs to find a way to do both. But you also have to find playing time for these guys. You have to find out who's going to be on your roster when you find the next Cubs championship team, whenever that is. Do I think they're going to be in a lot of conversations? Yeah. But I do believe now that there's going to be an extra playoff team, there's a DH, I think a lot of teams are going to be all in. I don't think they're, it's not going to be the teams that normally aren't. But there's going to be some interesting teams that are going to come out of nowhere, make some splashes like a Chris Bryant, and all of a sudden you're wondering, how did the Texas Rangers land Bryant? And those are the kind of situations I'm really looking forward to. But with that, that's going to be the exciting part. That might be the part that really helps save baseball. Let's have this conversation. It's something that Jonathan Hood will talk about a little bit later on in this edition of the Sports Cubicle. It is Devin Tingle. It's Paul Chivari. It's Dan Marver. I'm Mike Mercado. We appreciate you joining us on this night. It's crazy times, from amazing trades in the NFL to Major League Baseball getting a deal done. And now in the middle of this conversation, Khalil Mack being traded from the Chicago Bears long term. I still think, while everybody's excited right now that we are getting baseball back, I think long-term baseball still hurt themselves. I still think that for all of this, nobody did themselves any favors. The players didn't. The owners didn't. The game didn't. Now, what's good is you have time now. It's a 5-year deal from reports are saying. So that means you have time to work on a lot of your issues. But I do believe that they have hurt their reputation. And this is not 1994, 1995. This isn't any time and period. The world, not just America, the world has changed so much. And I do think that they've damaged themselves long term. Now, people like us here on the Sports Cubicle, people listening to us on the Sports Cubicle, they're not going anywhere. They're going to complain. They're going to moan. They're going to watch baseball, though. It's all the other people that you're trying to get. What is baseball going to do the next 5 years to get Paul's son, to get the baseball fan that defected out? That's the real question. What did these negotiations do? People don't feel bad for billionaires anymore. It's 2022, not when you can't afford to put gas in your car. So, Paulie, all of us here love baseball. You covered the thing like a blanket. Do you think the damage, long-term damage, has been done with these negotiations and this lockout?
I think because they were able to salvage a season, it's not going to hurt as much, I think, as we were talking about in the offseason. I think if it would have gone past April or May, I think it would have meant a little bit more. I think in the long run, you're going to lose fans anyway. I think in this decade, you're going to see the NBA officially take Major League Baseball for second most profitable organization or league. And I think you're going to see baseball just kind of dwindle in popularity. I mean, sure, there's always going to be baseball, but it has to compete with so many things, and just to foster it at the youth level, I think gets harder and harder. Now, to give the one credit that Rob Manfred has against other commissioners, one sort of gold star you can give him is he's been trying to really initiate getting youth into baseball. And I think if he can be successful with that, there will be growth over time, and it will be a sustainable sort of league that can compete against NBA and NHL for second best in the United States. But I think at the same time, banning the shift and universal DH and changing the rules and really these radical changes to the game, you're going to lose some of your older people. Of course, they're going to age out and eventually pass away over time. But these are the people that have been kind of keeping your game relevant and keeping it popular, and is also trying to teach the next generation about the game. So I think you're at a weird crossroads right now where you're going to see what exactly the effect of this is. And these were some radical changes. These were some changes that I think needed to happen. And some of these changes, I think maybe were a little bit too quick. But the players have definitely made their case, especially going against what the board was still trying to fight for at the time that the final vote was made. And it's only interesting. It's only interesting from here. I think those that love baseball are always going to love baseball. This is not the 94 strike. We didn't lose a World Series. We didn't, it's very similar in the sense of what came out of the 94 strike, the starting, or the 1990 season, that was slightly delayed. But it's never going to be as detrimental as losing a World Series. Think of that. Since Teddy Roosevelt was president, we've had a World Series every single year except for that one, even during a pandemic. We've only had one summer where there was no baseball on Memorial Day since the Civil War, and that's or that era anyhow, the Reconstruction era. And that was 2020 with the COVID pandemic. So baseball can't afford to lose, significant amounts of time.
That's it right there. I mean, you hit the point right there. Baseball couldn't go its second season straight with something like this, and they were able to salvage it. And I do think that it'll be something that we'll study 50 years from now. What damage was done? It's something we can't do the calculations right now. But Devin, if you have to use an educated guess, you have to go with your gut. What do you think the damage was from this? Do you think they can overcome it as a league, as a sport, from this lockout?
I think baseball is going to stay the same, guys, because, the guys like us, we're sitting here, we're watching this, we're covering this, not as much as Paul, but definitely we're seeing when the season comes back. I got friends that'll go to Cubs and White Sox games. They probably didn't even know that there was a strike going on right now. Do you think the casual fan wants to know the dark truth? They want to know what behind closed doors, or they want to see Mike Trout slam dingers? Come on, guys.
Dingers.
Thank you. But going back to that, Paul brings a valid point, but the thing is, sports as a whole are really going down. Like the 18 to 24 market watching sports, it's complete dog doo-doo. Like as I said before, that's why you're getting NFL games on Nickelodeon. They're trying to go for these younger people here, and they're making changes to baseball. But Paul brings out a good point that NBA is slowly climbing up there, and that's because you can make NBA interesting. I mean, we might not care about those slam dunk contests, but little kids see some of that stuff like, that's so damn cool. What can you do with baseball to make it really cooler? A home run derby where they're doing backflips where they swing the bat? No, it's not going to happen. Baseball is kind of a more, it's a sport that there really isn't too much you can make changes to other than, how the game is played, universal DH, bang the shift. What are you going to do? So, okay, you can now have one guy a catcher, one guy pitching, one infielder, one outfielder, and see some guys scramble. There's not so much more you can do here. So I think baseball is going to stay the same until, as Paul said, these older crowd people, they're just going to die out. And then, guys like us, unless we can, Paul, I got a feeling Paul's going to force his kids to love baseball no matter what. But really, it's if they can't grab that younger crowd, and that's really what they're trying to go for, that 18 to 24 and under, can't speak right now, then baseball should be worried. As of right now, not too much, not really too sure. And again, as we talked about this at work, guys, if these sports want to stay around, they need to get on streaming services. Different conversation for a different day. But I think that it's not so much more like how the game is played. It's how can you access it? Because there was a time I couldn't watch White Sox games on TV because I don't have cable. There's a lot more people now that have ditched cable and they can't watch either of their Chicago sports teams unless they have, you get like those game of the weeks, and those are on ESPN, so that's cable too. It's like,
we haven't even talked about Apple TV.
Yeah.
They want to get the rights to the Friday night game exclusively.
And that's what's going to be so interesting about this entire thing. Devin, I'll let you wrap it up right here. But, Paulie bringing up Apple TV, it's like we have just scratched the surface. Like we're about up against the clock for this. And, I mean, we have so much to still unravel. But go ahead and finish up your thought, Dev.
Just Paul brings a good point here. And this is something, if we ever have a slow week, maybe find someone, analyze this deeper. But I think right now it's sports in general want to get that younger demographic. You need to make it so it's easy to watch those baseball games on your iPad, your tablet, your Nintendo Switch, your laptop. And I know they have MLB TV, but I'm like, okay, no, you need to partner with like a Peacock, an HBO Max, something to get easier. Because Paul, you pay for, I get mine for free, but you pay for MLB TV. It's like what, $30 a month? Like what kid's gonna pay for that?
I pay for the year. For the year, it's like $150 or so. But that I think that may or may not include the minor league package as well.
And then we still have to see what happens. There's these rumors about the extra playoff team, what's going on with ESPN, and obviously with Peacock. But I mean, we'll be talking about this up until April 7th. But
there's for sure a 12-team playoff. That's what they agreed to.
At least, so we know where the starting line is. We'll see how much of this changes. But here's where we want to leave this conversation is Paul Chivari, our awesome co-host here on the Sports Cubicle, does a podcast, the Baseball Weekend Journal. We talk about it all summer long. We talk about it during the winter meetings. Check it out. Right now, the episodes are going to be fire, especially by the time you hear this segment on WCPT 820 AM on the Sports Cubicle. He will have an amazing episode up for you. He'll be covering all the news as it breaks down, as it trickles down from New York. But the only thing that we know here on the Sports Cubicle is on April 7th, you will be able to watch Major League Baseball, which means the Chicago Cubs and the Chicago White Sox will once again be our companion through the summer months. Baseball is back, and in the middle of all of it, we had breaking news as the Chicago Bears are sending their star linebacker, their rusher, Khalil Mack, to the LA Chargers. It is Devin Tingle.
Gross.
It is Paul Chivari. It is Dan Marver. I'm Mike Mercado. We got more coming up here on the Sports Cubicle. Find us on Twitter at Sports Cubicle TV.